Representative Garcia raises serious concerns about the FBI's priorities under Director Patel, highlighting a potential misuse of federal resources that may compromise public safety. He scrutinizes the Bureau's expanded involvement in low-level, non-criminal immigration enforcement and questions whether the FBI is acting as an impartial law enforcement agency or serving a partisan agenda.
As members of the Judiciary Committee, we have a responsibility to conduct oversight of the FBI and assess whether or not you're doing a good job in a responsible and impartial manner, or whether you're just a henchman for Donald Trump who's weaponizing the Bureau at the expense of public safety. As Congressman for tenure is the Bureau's expanded role in low-level, non-criminal immigration enforcement. I have a report here from the conservative Cato Institute. They've obtained ICE documents showing that over 2,500 FBI personnel are now working on immigration enforcement. A yes or no question. Did you sign off on this?
2,500 FBI employees are not currently working on immigration enforcement.
Did you sign off on this?
On the Cato report?
On the 2,500 personnel, FBI personnel that have been reported to now be working on immigration enforcement.
Couldn't have signed off on it because it's not happening.
You can call it whatever you want, but the reality is that over 2,000 personnel individuals are now working at ICE instead of their jobs. I want to follow up on something that Senator Durbin asked you about yesterday. This article from MSNBC reports that nearly every agent on Baltimore's domestic terrorism unit, who was, by the way, investigating the 764 network of child predators, was diverted to work on immigration enforcement full-time. That forced them to, and I quote him, walk away from investigations of a network of violent predators that targets and exploits children online. Yes or no? Were you aware that this happened, and did you sign off on it?
The premise is false. The 764 network in Baltimore is taken down, and FBI agents do double and triple duty all the time.
I'm reclaiming my time. You told Senator Durbin yesterday you didn't know about it, so your testimony is inconsistent today.
No,
Final question. Let me ask you again a yes or no question. Are you aware that agents have been told by supervisors not to documenting the shifting of resources toward immigration-related work?
That's a literal another falsehood. It's impossible to remove a human being without documenting that work.
As FBI director, you must be transparent with Congress. You need to provide us information about how many agents have been diverted to non-criminal immigration enforcement, why the Baltimore unit was dismantled, and whether there's a cover-up of what's happening under your leadership, because this goes to the heart of whether or not you're carrying out the stated mission of the FBI, keeping our communities safe. Diverting FBI agents from investigating violent child predators doesn't make us safer. Using FBI resources to target parents, children, and other immigrants for low-level, non-criminal enforcement doesn't make us safer. Enabling violent, lawless conduct by federal enforcement doesn't make us safer. As we saw last week when an ICE officer killed one of my constituents. And I know that the FBI has been involved in that investigation. And yesterday, ICE did a raid in the suburb of Elgin where 2 U.S. citizens were arrested, and who accompanied them on that filming of that show? Secretary Nunn. Shameful conduct. And weaponizing the FBI to serve Donald Trump's political agenda instead of the American people does not make us safer. Before I yield back, Mr. Chairman, I request unanimous consent to submit the following documents for the record. A report from the Cato Institute, which I referenced earlier, where ICE has diverted over 2,500 officers from their jobs. And two, an article from MSNBC titled Trump's Deportations Divert FBI Agents Off Child Predator Cases, and an article from CNN entitled White House Pressure for Increased Immigration Arrests Strains Law Enforcement Agencies. Thank you, and I yield back.
This exchange highlights deep and urgent concerns about the direction of the FBI under Director Patel, particularly regarding the Bureau's allocation of resources and its adherence to its core mission of public safety. Representative Garcia's questioning underscores a fundamental tension between the FBI's stated mandate to investigate serious crimes and protect communities, and the increasingly visible diversion of agents to non-criminal immigration enforcement. The congressman's references to reports from the KO Institute, MSNBC, and CNN provide concrete evidence that thousands of FBI personnel may have been reassigned away from critical investigations into violent and exploitative criminal networks, including child predators. This situation raises the critical question of whether the Bureau is operating as an independent law enforcement agency or as an instrument serving political priorities, undermining public confidence in its neutrality. Garcia's line of questioning emphasizes transparency and accountability. By pressing Patel on whether he signed off on these personnel decisions and highlighting inconsistencies in his testimony compared to previous statements to Senator Durbin, the exchange exposes a potential pattern of obfuscation or selective reporting within the FBI. The example of the Baltimore Domestic Terrorism Unit, whose agents were reportedly diverted from investigating the 764 network of child predators to low-level immigration enforcement, illustrates the tangible consequences of these choices. When trained investigators are pulled from their core responsibilities, law enforcement effectiveness is compromised, public safety is jeopardized, and critical investigations into violent criminal activity are delayed or abandoned. Moreover, the exchange illustrates the broader risks of politicizing law enforcement. Garcia frames the diversion of FBI resources as more than a mismanagement issue. It is a question of values and priorities. By raising the possibility that the Bureau is being weaponized to advance a political agenda, the congressman directly challenges the principle that the FBI must remain impartial and accountable to the law rather than to any political actor. The involvement of high-profile figures in immigration enforcement operations, including Secretary Noam accompanying a raid, further underscores concerns about the FBI's independence and the potential perception of partisanship in its operations. Such perceptions, whether real or perceived, erode trust in federal law enforcement, a dangerous outcome in a time of heightened political polarization and social tension. The exchange also demonstrates the importance of congressional oversight. By demanding clarity on the number of agents reassigned, the reasons for dismantling specific units, and the existence of potential cover-ups, Garcia positions Congress as the critical check on federal power. His insistence on documentation and factual reporting highlights the role of transparency as both a tool for accountability and a safeguard against misuse of authority. In doing so, the discussion reveals how executive and administrative decisions at the FBI have far-reaching implications, impacting not only the Bureau's internal operations, but also the broader integrity of federal law enforcement and its ability to protect the public effectively. Finally, this exchange is a stark reminder that public safety is inseparable from institutional integrity. The diversion of resources from violent crime and child exploitation investigations to politically charged priorities illustrates how misaligned priorities can have immediate and dangerous consequences. It reinforces the principle that law enforcement agencies must operate based on evidence, threat assessment, and the law, not political expediency. Garcia's scrutiny is a call to ensure that the FBI's mission remains clear, its actions transparent, and its commitment to protecting all communities unwavering. If federal resources continue to be deployed selectively or for partisan purposes, public trust in the FBI and its capacity to uphold justice will continue to erode, leaving vulnerable populations at increased risk and undermining the very foundations of public safety and democratic governance.